publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to every nook and cranny in Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northeast Louisiana, Southeast Louisiana, and every part of the world who can reach I messed up. I messed up a piece of it, which I should say every nook and cranny receiving our 100,000 watt signal that is permeating those cracks into your boxes known as radios. And of course, good morning to the world, getting us through the internet, whether that be Barcelona, Spain, whether that be London, England, and many other places where people listen, chat, call in, etc. This morning, we're going to have a great show, but before we get started, of course, we throw it to the studio where we have our resident geniuses. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jack.
And good morning to everyone in Saskatchewan. Why the hell not?
Why the hell not?
Okay, well, we're doing pretty good this morning. The tin cans and string are holding up. I was at the transmitter last night until about 11:30. We have issues with our HD2 channels, so I'm trying to get those back on, and it's not easy. You would think that working with radio equipment is easy. Well, it isn't, especially the software that just doesn't want to work. So that was my evening, spending it with the transmitter itself, and the terrestrial broadcast is just fine. It's the HD problem. The internet's still streaming.
Great.
Yeah, the internet's still streaming. The FM transmitter is on, blasting out 100,000 watts across Southeast Texas. I like to say that.
I know.
And not quite getting to Saskatchewan, but, they can get there by the internet. That's how my evening went. And Jack he has a half a page of wisdom here for us. So being unwise myself, let's get some wisdom from Jack.
Yeah, only half a page today.
Well, you wrote a novel for us yesterday, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I just went on and on. Christian Nationalism. The fall from grace, which they blamed on Eve. Judgment, sin, and punishment. What's so great about that? Man created God in his own image. Man created this God as an ultimate authority figure to lead people into slavery, not freedom. I won't be ruled by the devil or divinity. Power corrupts the divine as well as the devil.
Well, how about that?
That's Jack Van Beber, the one and only Jack Van Beber. Hey, Jack, it's interesting because one of the earliest things I'm going to do today is play something from Representative James Talarico, and we'll talk about that later. Welcome aboard, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, our first European on the show this morning. Well, it's an American living in Europe, I should say. But anyway, guess who is back? It's been I think it's more than a month. Neil Aquino, our local celebrity, political celebrity here in town. Hey, Neil, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. I think it's been 4 weeks travel and your net roots and the hurricane and the blackout. But I am back with our weekly Houston Democracy Project segment, and I am appreciative of being back. And I want to thank Cynthia, the attorney Cynthia, who made a blog comment on my blog asking where I was. Very kind. I'm back.
Well, it's great to have you back, my friend. Where were you?
Well, I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, visiting my mom and my people. I was just a few blocks from where J.D. Vance lives. You'd think he'd live on a farm or in a little city helping his people, but he lives in a multiracial, gentrifying neighborhood of Cincinnati right near the Art Museum. in the Playhouse. That's where he lives. Just like Ted Cruz lives in the inner loop of Houston, even though it's supposed to be a hellscape. But that's where they live. And then I was out of power for 5 days. It was hot as hell. And then I took a vacation to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, where I went to all the great Smithsonians and museums and sites of the Capitol.
That is great. I mean, want folks to know that I knew where Neil was. It turns out he was at a radio station in Cincinnati, and I actually logged into the radio station in Cincinnati and checked it out as he was directly on air doing his spiel
Right.
out there in Cincinnati. It was great hearing you on the radio in Cincinnati, and he actually called me out in Cincinnati. So hey, what the heck? We
I
were
kept
having fun.
mispronouncing words. I mispronounced the Spanish WAIF. Maybe
Yeah,
it
I think
went
we're
through
talking about
FM.
the derecho, that thing that
Derecho. I
went.
know.
Yeah,
I
but
know.
it's interesting because now what are your thoughts when you went out to Cincinnati? Did you have any thoughts about what people thought about how crazy things happening here in Texas, or what they thought of the current politics that we're living through?
You know, Ohio's just. I mean, the Ohio legislature really, in many respects, is just as bad. When you are in Cincinnati, you are surrounded by the Cincinnati suburbs. Kentucky's across the river, the Ohio River. Indiana is a few miles away. My mom and I drove to Indiana just to look around, and I don't know that they see a distinct difference, frankly. The Ohio legislature, they are ignoring, for example, the people have passed an anti-gerrymandering
Yeah.
initiative. It's been ignored by the legislature. There was some story, I forget exactly, where the Ohio legislature had negated something that the Cincinnati city government had done. So if you are in these red states, and as you always say, there's many excellent people. I was in Cincinnati, and I drove through a town called Cleves, which is in western Hamilton County, and there was this home with a pride flag. It was Pride Month, June, and in this town of Cleves, right along the railroad tracks. And I just thought about how brave that person was, to take that stand and be public. So there's good people everywhere, but Cincinnati or Ohio really is in no position to criticize Texas politics. It's the same.
Yeah, it's sad that all these red states they do a lot of the same things in common. They preach freedom, but in reality, they do everything against what people want. Anyhow, we've lost our one of our great leaders here in the state of Texas. Sheila Jackson Lee passed. I thought that was the fastest passing after finding someone is ill.
Boy, yeah. That was a loss, and of course we spent so much time talking about the mayoral race here on our Thursday segment, and Congresswoman Jackson Lee will lie in state in the Capitol, in the
In
Houston
city.
City Hall
Yeah.
on Monday. I watched yesterday's City Council session. Mayor Whitmire was reminiscing. He seemed a little sad. I took him at face value. He was talking about.
Yeah, I know. Well, we lost Neil for a little bit here. He's been kind of intermittent, so hopefully you'll get him back. There you
And
go. He's back.
I've been coming in and out a little bit today, so I apologize to the audience. And he was just reminiscing about many years of being at affairs and events with Congresswoman Jackson Lee. He called Mayor Turner Sylvester. We're familiar with all the criticisms and anger between the two, which I'm sure is valid. These people have known each other for a long, long time, and you felt that Mayor Whitmire was feeling a bit of his mortality. But Congresswoman Jackson Lee passed, and now there is a contest to replace her, where the precinct chairs in Congressional District 18 will select the nominee. There's about 75 or 80 active precinct chairs, and they'll select a new nominee. And there's a bunch of names out there.
Well, Sylvester Turner name is on the top of the list right now, and Jarvis Johnson is also running on the top of the list. So I think the race is actually going to turn out between Jarvis and Sylvester because of
Right.
them being a
Yeah.
part of the machine. So we'll
Well, I
see.
think Johnson had I'd seen something Johnson had written on Facebook where he was sort of echoing Vice President Harris and saying we need a younger. He was calling the mayor a little bit old or older. Amanda Edwards, who lost the primary to the congresswoman this year, and I saw where Bishop James Dixon was mentioning his name. State Representative Jolanda Jones was mentioning her name, and so there'll be candidates. My understanding is that Commissioner Rodney Ellis had been for days making phone calls to precinct chairs. That deal was in, but Rodney apparently for days and days already, not long after the congresswoman's passing, was calling precinct chairs. So I guess we'll see his pull. There's only about 80 voters in the race, and that's contingent on which of those 80 people show up at the meeting.
Now the question is, Rodney wasn't polling the precinct chairs for himself. He was polling it for somebody else.
No, Rodney was calling. I'm sorry, Rodney was calling on behalf of Mayor Turner.
Oh, okay. Well, what is interesting is Jarvis, with what's going on in the country, Jarvis does have a point when he says maybe it's time for the new generation. So I don't know. I don't have a horse in that race.
Jarvis should have maybe a race with only 80 votes will suit him, because if he had pushed a little more and been a little more imaginative, he could have won that race with Molly Cook. We were glad Molly won, but this is a guy who blew his own race, and now he's in another one right off for a higher office.
Yeah, well, Molly worked hard. We all saw, and Molly continues to work hard. You see Molly Cook all over. I was at a Juneteenth event about a few weeks ago. Mayor Turner was there, and a few other politicians were there, and Molly Cook was right there in the center of it. Molly Cook was out there campaigning, so she has earned the right to be senator in I think it was Senate District 15. So Molly was out there campaigning like everybody. I mean, not campaigning. She's already won, but she was out there touching folks and doing all the things.
I would say she's campaigning. She won by 62 votes. That's a 70% something district of color, and so I'm sure 4 years from now are on her mind. Molly has. This is something we'll be talking about consistently through November. Senator Cook, Molly, has been talking about how she'll be active in campaign 2024, knocking doors. I believe her. And so on one hand, we thank her. And on the other hand, that's what all electeds need to be doing.
Exactly.
So she's setting an example. So thank her. But on the other hand, the stakes are so high. If you have an elected official not telling you what they're going to be doing, there was a letter sent out by all of the Harris County state representatives except for Sean Theory, who's been defeated in the primary, endorsing the vice president. But that's great. But it's easy to sign a letter when you start to see them active, actually campaigning for Sean Tier and in the sheriff's race. Then you'll know they mean what they say when they sign it, rather than signing a letter.
Yep. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with what we're going to be talking about on the program. Title of the show today is Representative James Talarico on Christian Nationalism, comedian Titus on MAGA, and Neil Aquino returns. And as we had our little chat here, as Neil Aquino returned, I have two videos that I want to play. They're short videos. Let me go ahead and play the first one, which is our Texas State rep that's speaking about Christian nationalism and the dangers. Let's go ahead and play that, and then I'll go to the phone where I see that Joe is waiting and Bard. Let's get started. MAGA. I want to talk about Christian nationalism. And nobody better to describe Christian nationalism than State Representative James Talarico from Texas. I want you guys to listen to Brother Talarico, because I tell you, I was so impressed with the brother, and I think you will as well.
Christian nationalists are not interested in legislating Christian values. They are only interested in legislating Christian dominance. Christian nationalism is putting prayer in schools and taking free lunches out. Christian nationalism is teaching the Bible in schools, but refusing to give teachers a pay raise. Christian nationalism is forcing schools to post the Ten Commandments while nominating a candidate for president who has violated almost all of them. It is not about Jesus. It is about power.
I mean, in less than 1 minute, he, James Talarico, goes out and expresses what Christian nationalism is. And again, you see these guys trying to make believe that what they're supporting is Christianity and what is moral. But when he makes those contrasts, that makes it so much clearer. Yes, they want to throw the Bible in school. They want to throw the Ten Commandments in school. Yet they want you with a straight face to say, you go ahead and vote for Donald Trump. And who is Donald Trump? A serial liar. That's a commandment. A fornicator. That's a commandment. A thief. That's a commandment. Coveting your neighbors, whatever, commandment. Commandment after commandment, this guy breaks. This guy uses school to rip people off. This guy made people work for him for free. This guy raped women. And these Christian nationalists who are trying to purify the church or purify the schools by putting the Bible into the church and taking out books that no tienen valor, that doesn't have any value in their respect, right? But then they tell you to go vote for Donald. Do you see the hypocrisy? And that is the thing that always bugs me. I continue to say, how can you have a daughter, look your daughter in the eye, tell your daughter to do right, have a son, tell your son to do right, and at the same time, you ask people to vote for somebody who's diametrically opposed to those values that you want out of your own kids? It makes absolutely no sense. And actually, to put it bluntly, it is something that destroys the morals of a nation. Let's go to Joe. Joe, line number 1.
Hey, good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Hey, so I'm wondering how you guys would respond to, the thousands of Democrats and dozens of, major Democrat organizations, including BLM, that are saying that, what was last year's conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was too sick to run. I remember Vivek turned to the during the debates, he turned to the audience and said, DNC, why are you pretending that you're going to run Joe Biden next year? Right? Let's put your nominee in there and let's have vigorous debates. But no, they waited until the 11th hour and they're pulling a switcheroo, right? They're sliding a candidate in there that nobody voted for. She was out of the presidential race before Iowa, right? And this person wasn't voted for at all. There's no primary. It was just wealthy elites and party elites that voted for her. And that's it. The people had no say yet again. And Democrats are noticing. They're pissed, right? How do you respond?
Okay. I get your point, Joe. Let me just say, I get your point. Let me answer that point succinctly and distinctly. Number 1, I don't know why you believe there was a conspiracy from the beginning. Joe wanted to continue to run. Joe had the option to continue to run. The truth of the matter is, as you say, Joe looks pretty old, and eventually the party came out, and this wasn't the party elites. Again, poll after poll was taken as what the Democratic rank and file wanted. And most of the Democratic rank and file wanted Joe Biden to step down. And it's the only reason Joe Biden stepped down. He wanted to continue to fight. It's no conspiracy here. But I thought you said you didn't listen to the media. Why is it that you're parroting everything that I heard on Fox News last night?
I don't know. I don't watch Fox News.
Well, I don't know what you watch, but somehow you got the right wing talking papers
Yeah, you
that
got
you,
all the talking points there. Yeah.
I mean, it's fake because you don't. It doesn't matter to the other side. Listen to me well. You have no say in what the Democratic Party does. You worry about the parties that you are bringing somebody from. If you want to change out Donald Trump right now, you can. And the Democrats have absolutely nothing to say about it, just like you, as a kind Republican, has absolutely no input for what concerns the Democratic Party. So I mean, it doesn't matter what you say or what you feel. It's a Democratic Party thing going through the Democratic Party rules. Period. You have no say. Now consider fighting against Kamala Harris. It's that simple. Make your guy fight Kamala Harris, who is now going to be the party. And now, if you take a look at what has happened since Kamala has become the standard bearer, the activity in the entire Democratic Party has gone through the roof. So it seems like the Democrats are happy now. So that makes that what you're talking about, my dear brother, completely wrong. Democrats are happy now. Continue, my friend.
No, I disagree. Just read what Democrats are saying about it.
No. I am seeing what Democrats are saying. Not only what they're saying, but I'm also see what they're doing. I am also looking at the polls. That's all. Neil, say something quickly, and then we'll go to Bard.
Well, let me say that the Republican Party voted for Donald Trump, but then Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and all the tech bros, they what they really care about is J.D. Vance and their cryptocurrency and all that. Worry about your own party, where Trump is already being marginalized by his own pick, and didn't have command over it. And so I would worry about the democratic processes in your party.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Joe, thank you for your concern about Hey, Joe, thank you for the concern about what the Democrats are doing. I think the Democrats are pretty happy right now. But I do appreciate your concern for Democrats.
I'm happy. I'm happy too. What the borders are, man. Send it on, man.
By the way, wait, hold on, Joe. About the border, let me let you know a statistic because I want all our audience to find out. The amount of people crossing the border right now are less than the amount of people crossing the border when Trump left office. That's a statement of fact as well that Joe can look up if he wants to. So it kind of all the things that
all the people murdered by illegal immigrants. Tell it to his family.
Okay, and let's also say the following: if you take a look at the crime rate, and I did a piece on this, crime rate by immigrants, whether documented or otherwise, are much less than the crime rate of rank and file born American citizens. Just to let you know. Thank you, Joe. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Those are the facts, people. You keep calling, brother. Let's go to Bard. Come on in, brother Bard.
Yeah, I want to switch it up a little bit and ask Neil a couple questions about.
Go ahead and ask.
Sylvester Turner's trying to get Sheila Jackson Lee's seat before her body's even turned cold. And I want to ask if you know about KB3 Charities, Neil, and also CJ Arsenal Construction, and how those are related to Mayor Turner or the former mayor.
I'm sure you'll give us a brief and succinct thing. That race, a lot of names are in that race, and a lot of names are in that race. But give us a very succinct account of that.
Well, this KB3 charity is not a charity. It's a place where they were kicking money back to city employees that were doubling up as inspectors on several different jobs and also running fake charities. So I wonder how former Mayor Turner was had his fingers in that. How much?
Now
Well,
he,
I'll just say,
Some of our listeners, maybe Northern Johnny, could research this
a lot of
for us.
hold on. Let him answer,
a lot of
Bart. Let him
folks in
answer.
Houston. A lot of folks in Houston. Mayor Turner is one of these names, like that a lot of folks in Houston think we're very protective or defensive of. I don't know the ins and outs of what you're talking about. I would wager that the Democrats are probably a little less protective of Mayor Turner than people think. But the precinct chairs in Congressional District 18 know these candidates best, and they will make the call.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Bart, thank you very much, my brother. I need to go to Patrick. The lines are full. And I want to welcome Billy Allison Irwin. She says, Joe is so concerned for the Democrats, I'm sure.
Right. That's right.
All right,
Very
come on in,
touching.
Patrick. I know. Come on in, Patrick. And after Patrick is Ray from Third Ward. Patrick, come on in.
Good morning. As far as Christian nationalism goes, I don't know how you reconcile trying to change 200 years of governing against the will of the founding fathers to a system that would exclude 40% of the citizens' beliefs, and amongst the 60% that identify as Christian, only about 45% of them say that it's very important to them. So we're trying to craft a change in government that will only satisfy 33% of the people around us, possibly, maybe half. And then on top of that, they're not even telling us how this is going to benefit us. But that's not why I'm calling. I read up a little bit on our current vice president, and Roberto, you're 100% correct. People are excited. She's mopping the floor with Donald Trump, absolutely mopping the floor, and the fact that his black woman just makes it so much better. I've read she's stood in solidarity with striking workers, so she's to the left of Biden. She has signed a bill with Bernie in the past for single-payer health care, way left to Biden. She's younger. She's energetic. She seems to be very smart. She's either very, very smart or she's very good with speeches. But 60% of her donations so far are first-time donations. I don't see how that would come across as an appointment. I would say that she's making people more excited about.
Patrick,
anyone before.
Patrick, let me tell you that the reason why the talking points went out about BLM doesn't like her and all this kind of stuff is for the exact reasons that you say here. She's actually real. Look, Biden was real. Biden is very smart, etc. But when the speeches that she gave, where she put Donald Trump in check, is one of the reasons people got very excited as well. Because Biden is good, but Biden is at the age now where he doesn't do that kind of campaigning right now. He can govern. He can't campaign where he's at right now. He just doesn't have it in him to campaign. But as far as being able to do the job, I mean, the guy's fine. Now, when it comes to smarts, all you got to do is look up what she did as Attorney General in California and District Attorney in San Francisco, and as senator when she interviewed or when she summoned Bill Barr and all these other guys. Just look at those interviews that she did on Bill Barr and the Supreme Court justices, how she had them shaking in their boots. Look it up. It's on the internet. So, I mean, that is the reason why Donald Trump won't debate her. That is the reason why they're so scared. You want to add something to that?
Let me say to keep my local angle. She's in town. She's speaking. She's here.
Yeah, she is in town, and she's speaking today. I don't recall where it is that she's speaking today, but she is in fact in town, and she'll be getting back with us. Go ahead, Jay.
Thought. She's in. Excuse me, and I apologize to the audience. My signal's gone in and out. She's in town. She's speaking to the American Federation of Teachers this morning downtown at the Convention Center. She went to the Office of Emergency Houston City Office of Emergency Management yesterday, where they had just dealt with the hurricane. And there's been some discussion of will mayor. So a statement came out from about 250 past and former current mayors and Democratic mayors endorsing her. Mayor Whitmire was not on that statement. He has said he looks forward to working with her for 8 years. So he's given himself his own reelection. We'll think about that. But he still hasn't come out and endorsed her, though he did welcome her to Houston, and they toured our Office of Emergency Management, where we administered Hurricane Beryl and all that. So Mayor Whitmire's he's thinking about what's best for him on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, Patrick. Anything else before I jump to Ray?
Yes. What would be the difference between a conspiracy and strategy? It would just be whoever is labeling it, and that's
right.
Party with you.
I love that.
Another thing I'd like to point out is that we were very upset with the war policy of Biden. We pushed out somebody that we thought wasn't acceptable, and now we're showing some teeth, and we're actually lining up and supporting these people. We did what we needed to do.
Thank you, Patrick. You nailed
That's
it.
the truth.
That's the truth.
That's exactly the truth. That the elites in the party caught up to what the electorate felt. The elites, people, oh, it's a plot, it's a plot, it's a plot. The elites caught up to where the rank and file was. It was the rank and file that pushed this, and the poll numbers, which indicated that the rank and file voter, just Biden wasn't going to carry it. So this was not elite driven. They had to be dragged in.
Yeah, I mean, and like again, 67% of Democrats wanted the ticket change. So
right.
For what the right is imploding because Trump got somebody that's going to actually, the polls are just starting to come out, and they are marginal. People don't know the effect. People haven't listened to her. People haven't listened to her platform. By the time they listen to it, it's going to be all over. Let's go. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Even in those polls, she's gaining.
Yeah.
I apologize. Go ahead.
Ray from Third Ward, come on in. My brother Ray.
Hey, brother Egberto. Welcome back, Neil. I
Thank you,
actually
very
want
kind.
to say it's kind of bittersweet because you came back to a bit of a mess down here in Houston, but I'm glad to hear from you again, and
thank you.
I know you're going to be pivotal in the Houston politics, in our political platform.
Yes, sir.
I also want to say it was definitely a somber news to hear about Miss Sheila Jackson Lee. As you know, we've shared spaces. I had a selfie with her on Facebook, and she was actually someone that I came into contact with very early in my activism. So, she was almost like a family member to me more than just a political, and she will be missed. So I do believe those are some big shoes to fill. If I could give my personal input, I do believe that that district probably should lean towards Amanda Edwards because of that race. And I'm just saying that personally, not from any organizational standpoint. I'll let it play out because I don't live in that district.
Now, Ray, did Amanda Edwards declare? Because I was looking at the list of people who declared for 18, and I didn't see Amanda Edwards on the list. So did she declare officially or not?
I'm not sure if she's declared since the passing of Sheila Jackson Lee, but if she would consider it, I would definitely see efforts to support her in that. And looking at her possibly being in that lane like a Jasmine Crockett, as the young and up and coming Congress. Right.
Well, I mean, I've interviewed her twice here at KPFT, and she makes a good candidate. She knows the material. Now, I'm not sure how progressive she is, but she knows the material well. I mean, I think whoever takes Sheila Jackson's seat, they have to display a strong progressive bona fides. Sheila was in for things like single-payer reparations, all these things that are of moral values she stood for. Again, I always looked in things like she loves the camera. I loved her after seeing her in 2012 at the DNC in Charlotte. I learned that while she may not be all that kind to her employees, she was extraordinarily attentive to her constituents. Go ahead, Ray, so I can move on to Donald.
Oh, you know what? I know we're on limited time because you got a lot of callers. So this goes out to your MAGA people with respect to Joe. You know, stay in your lane. Y'all had y'all little party. Don't get mad that we probably going to have a bigger party after the fact. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they're so salty, and they want to dip in the Kool-Aid and don't know the flavor. And by the way, Joe, I've been listening to a lot of independent media and hearing all of the grassroots coalitions that have jumped into this race. So I'm going to leave on this note. And since it's 6 in the morning, I'm going to keep it cute. I'm going to say, Joe, have you a nice tall brew of STFU. And you gentlemen, have a great day.
Thank you very much, Ray. Let me just say one other thing, right? When it comes to by the way, welcome aboard, Eric Hayes as well as Alisarin Dreams. Our chat is getting mobilized. Anyway, I want to say this. I think it's a good thing that's happening right now because we do need fresh blood. We need a lot of fresh blood in our politics right now, and I think I think our Kamala is a good starter. But let's go to Donald. Come on in, brother Donald.
Berto,
Talk
how
to
are
me,
you
brother.
today?
I am fine, especially since I'm
You
hearing
there?
I'm hearing your wonderful voice, my dear Donald.
Okay, Neil, how are you doing? Now,
Yeah.
if
Yes, sir,
if
Donald.
you
I'm doing
pick
well.
pepper
Thanks for
out of
calling.
oh yes, sir. If you pick pepper out of fly hooey, you can find fault with anything.
Exactly.
Okay, and you can't circle the wagons around one individual and attack. It's open conversations, and that's how we progress and move forward. Because I don't care. See, I've got bar rules. If I take Egberto and I take Neil to the bar, we're not talking about politics, sexual preference, or religion. We go on
True.
to have a drink, eat food, sit down. I know this show is politics, so it's difficult to do that. But the thing is, if people would look at that first, we need to figure out how does it affect our bottom line? How is it going to make the world a better place? And why can't we all just get along?
Hey, Donald, you nailed it. And Joe calls in here all the time. Bart calls in here all the time. And when I tell them we need to go have some coffee and chat around, I mean that, right? I'm glad you said what you just said. And folks, let me tell you, brother Donald isn't one of the lefties like myself or Neil. But he displays exactly. I'm talking about you, Donald. He displays exactly what I want to see in us. We don't have to think alike or anything like that, but we can just like each other. And I really like Donald. I like the energy he brings, etc. I mean, that's what it's all about. So I think you nailed it, Donald. And I think that is one of the
Yes.
things that. No, hold on. This is one of the things I want to bring to.
Go ahead.
This is one of the things I want to bring to this show, that we don't have to think alike. We can get along. Now, if you say something that is silly, I'm going to tell you you're silly. And if you think I said something that's silly, hey, feel free to say it as well. Come on in, Donald.
Okay, we have to stop the one must progress while the other is oppressed. And that is a factual statement. We can't not put one person down to bring another person up. We can't progress if we're oppressing someone else. And that's it. That's all I got to say. Good to see you again, Neil.
Good.
All right, Donald.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my brother. Look, I can't disagree. Thank you, Donald. I can't disagree with absolutely anything my brother Donald just said there. That's where we need to get. And J. Ray says, I respect Donald's perspective, and I'm starting to like him a little more now, even though he can be a bit of a tool sometimes, but he seems like a good guy to drink with. You hear that, Donald? That's a lefty talking to a righty. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. That's who we are. And that's who we've always been deep on the inside. When people go ahead and enjoy stuff together, let's go to Steve. Come on in, Steve.
Hey, morning, Brother Egberto. Brother
Good
Neil,
morning,
welcome.
brother Steve.
I went through Cincinnati on the way up to upstate New York, and I always loved driving out of Kentucky into Cincinnati. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful
it's very nice.
city.
Yeah, very nice skyline as you come in. Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome back. I guess my point is, to a certain degree, 80% of us, all of us, are together because a lot of us, or 80% of us, probably have been marginalized at one point in our life. But many of our brothers and sisters are marginalized on a day-to-day basis, which is not me. And so one of the things about this national race is that you have a woman on the left who's a prosecutor, multicultural, and you have an old white guy, wealthy guy, criminal on the right side. So it's kind of rejuvenated us, as we got back here to Houston, and they've got a whole bunch of like a wave of people wanting to volunteer. So my question, Neil, is like if somebody wants to volunteer locally over the next 90 to 100 days and help push, one of the candidates, how would they do that?
I would go. The first thing I would do is go to the Harris County Democratic Party. You can go to their website, and I pushed the wrong button. The Harris County Democratic Party is looking for volunteers, and they are very much looking. There's a woman, Nicole Peterson, and they are very much looking for poll workers. They are looking for people who will be willing to be at the polls and monitor Republican activity. Colin Alred, the Senate nominee, who is so far not exciting enthusiasm, is in town Sunday for a kickoff. Depending on what neighborhood you might have a local Democratic club. If you go to the Harris County Democratic Party website, they have a list of Democratic clubs, and there are about 31, 32 of them recognized along the county. And if you also, the the Harris campaign has opportunities you can do from home. There's texting, and there's an app and a chat that you can get in, and they will give you assignments for texting, but across the country. So there are multiple ways. It just takes one or two Googles for what you're interested in. Important races in our county are Sean Tier for district attorney and Ed Gonzalez for sheriff, although Sheriff Gonzalez needs to do a better job explaining some of the jail deaths, and I wish we'd been talking about that more so. But those are two important county races. But the Harris County and volunteering can involve, like I said, being at home, texting, phone banking. It could be canvassing, active physical presence, and
Yeah, and by the way, you asked about another place to go, Steve, and that is harrisdemocrats.org is the website that Neil was just speaking about.
poll
You,
watching. It can be, and I keep coming in and out. I apologize to the audience, and it can also, being part of that infrastructure. And one last thing is a way to volunteer is our Harris County, Tanisha Hudspeth, the clerk. They need election workers, and this is really important because Republicans will be at the polls monitoring, watching. The Texas legislature has given judges the ability to overturn our elections, and which I think may matter if we have some narrow margins of victory here in Harris County. And one way to volunteer is to work a poll for early voting and election day. So there are many different ways.
all right, thank you very. Anything else, Steve, before we go to Brian?
Yeah, I had a quick one. So they were talking about DEI and all that yesterday, and I think it was our brother Brian who's, I don't know, on the one hand, I don't think he's a racist because I think he married somebody from China. But is he a parrot? Is he just a parrot? And if so, I have a parrot that has a little bit more common sense than he does. But I just hope he doesn't parrot as much as he
Okay,
appears.
Steve. Brian is coming up right after you, but let me just say one thing, right? No, Brian is not a. Brian is how do I speak about a lot of people? We were all reared with in certain ways that gives us what I called not. I'm trying to be. I'm trying to say things the right way here, and I want to say it the right way here. We are who and where we were reared, and getting that out of our system takes a long time. There are a lot of people that say very racist things that don't realize what they're saying is racist, or sexist things that don't realize what they're saying is sexist. And there are some who just do it on purpose to create issues. The interesting thing, I think, is in our society right now, most people say the things that they don't realize what they're saying. And so I'll leave it at that because I was lousy in explaining it the way I wanted to. Did you want to add to that?
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe in another 10 years he'll grow. So.
All right. Thank you, Steve. What were you going to say,
Egberto,
Neil?
if I could just take 60 seconds before we go to the next call, there's just two quick points I want to bring up. Just to keep it local, folks, there should be a report later this week about the HBD buried cases story. Look for that. Chief Finner was out yesterday saying he thinks the city's going to bury it. That's the cases where some code was used to get rid of them by the Houston Police Department. That report should be coming. And if you remember, if you voted in the municipal election, you probably voted for Proposition A in Houston, which allows 3 council members to bring something up without the mayor approving it. Mayor Whitmire had tried to trash the process by creating this committee that would stall.
Okay, we temporarily lost Neil. His internet, I think, is a bit intermittent. So go ahead, continue, Neil.
The committee creating this committee that would stall it. And yesterday, Houston City Council went around the mayor, and it's noteworthy. I wanted to make sure I noted it because it rarely happens. Houston City Council, the Republicans and Democrats, went around and asserted that they have the right to use Proposition A and bring things to council. So now any 3 Houston City Council members can bring something to the floor. So if you as a citizen, they always say, you call, the mayor won't let that. The mayor won't let that happen. Well, you voted for Prop A. The council members actually want to follow Prop A because of the voter mandate. So think of your Houston City Council members. 3 of them can bring anything and be involved in that process because of your vote. You've been given an extra way to do that.
Thank you for that, Neil. Let's go to Brian. Come on in, brother Brian.
Yeah, I'm here. I just want to say to Steve, thanks for the insult. I'm a little bit smarter than a parrot. I grew up in a household that my father called Richard Nixon a communist. That gives you some insight on my ability to remember and function in this society. So I just want to say thanks. I never insulted anyone that I've ever called on this program. Thanks, Steve. You're a real gentleman. Now I'll get into what took place last night. Did Kamala Harris know that Biden was that bad? And what did he do to Biden's skin? Did you see his orange face? What did they do to this man?
Okay, let me stop for a second there, Brian. There's nothing wrong with Biden's mind, and that's what you need to run a country. I don't think he can campaign. I don't think he has the energy to campaign. I'll be honest. For all the Democrats that are continuing to say things like they would have left him in. I'll repeat what Michael Moore said. I think that would have been elderly abuse. Not all elderly people age the same way. If you look at Fauci, who is older, if you look at Bernie Sanders, who is older, if you look at even the guy who really made him the president, Clyburn, who is older, they're all more vibrant than is Biden. That is the truth. Let's be honest. Now, that said, that doesn't stop Biden from being the excellent president that he is. And if you take a look at his when he talks foreign policy, as he stood up and spoke for an hour, in that 1 hour, he gave a clinic on foreign policy, which shows that his mind is very well and intact. Physically, I don't think he could handle what this race would have required. But Brian, I think when you heard Steve talk about parroting, I wasn't looking at it as an insult on you. I look at it as you're listening to talking points. And to me, that sounded like a talking point. I respect you, brother, but that was a talking point.
No, I'm telling someone that I've got less intelligence than a parrot. That's an insult,
Well,
man.
no. Well, okay. I'm sorry. I don't. That didn't come from me, sir. Brian, I don't think you
Yeah.
have less intelligence than a parrot. You know that. Go ahead. Move
Well,
on.
Steve does. Yeah,
Move on.
Steve does.
All right.
Y'all have a good weekend. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Brian. Neil.
You know, when in David McCullough's biography of Harry Truman, they knew FDR was ill. They were selecting a vice president at the 1944 Democratic Convention, and it was your classic, I think, guys with cigar and bourbon in a back room, and they knew Truman would be okay. And that's how Truman got on the ticket. They were looking for someone. This is how these processes work. They're not inherently anti-democratic. I know it sounds odd that I'm defending a backroom process, but there's many different ways. Gerald Ford was never elected. He became president. We've been talking about precinct chair, selecting Congresswoman Jackson Lee's replacement to be on the ballot. There's a lot of different processes. And for a president, there's only one president. It's hard to get him to come or to go. And it's a mix of voter initiative and backrooms, and there's nothing inherently anti-democratic about it. And again, in the case of Biden, that the electorate wanted him, the Democratic electorate wanted someone new.
It is interesting because, as it turns out, this is a false care that you're seeing from the right. Like, oh, you guys, let me tell you, all the rules were followed. All the
Right,
rules
rules are right.
and
That's a great way
that's
to
the
put
rules.
it. Rules are part of democracy.
Right.
That's why we don't like Trump. He won't commit to accepting the election. He consistently breaks the rules. Part of when it asserts the right, they make democracy. Oh, you've got to have a vote. You've got to have a vote. Well, at the same time, they tell you we live in a republic, but not a democracy. They love
Yeah.
that line when it
Hey,
serves them. But the
here's
rules
an
were followed.
exactly. Here's an interesting thing. JD Vance says Kamala is childless, and he accused childless women of being cat-like, and he
Right.
really insulted women, right? But here's the
Yeah.
thing. You know who came to Kamala's defense? Her husband's ex-wife, who
Right.
says that Kamala has been a marvelous stepmother to the kids that she had with Kamala's husband. Think about
Right.
what it takes for an ex-wife to talk about your ex-husband's new wife who her kids love to death as a stepmother.
Let me
Amazing.
that when Vance says that stuff, and I want people think about that for a second. He's been saying that people with more family, with more children, should have more votes or greater weight. And of course, plenty of gay people do have children and families. So I'm not saying they don't. But think about who that includes. Who that gay people, people with medical problems, right? The weak. To one view, or people with a medical problem where they can't have children, they're not weak.
Oh yeah. Anyway, we lost Neil for a second here, so what I want to do is I want to give homage, call out to Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. I also want to call out Melanie Comics Fox Social. I think you're coming in from Twitter. And I want to call out, I think I called out Eric Hayes already, but we are vibrant in there. Jay Ray has a whole lot of messages. Jay says the anti-democratic part is the Political Actions Committee. He also says that Maxine Waters is older than Biden, but look how sharp she is. So yeah, again, we age differently, and a lot of that we don't have control over. Give me a minute or so, Neil, then I want to jump to the studio.
Great. It's great to be back. The Houston Democracy Project, that's my effort. Please go to HoustonDemocracyProject.com and follow your Houston City Council, your Harris County commissioners, your school boards that maybe are banning books. Be involved locally. Authoritarianism requires a local infrastructure. And you please be involved here as we talk about the national stuff too.
Absolutely. So Paul Fleming points out something. The minimum wage has been $7.25 since 2009. We're at 2024. Everybody has gotten raises. We need to do something about that. It should be. I think it's in the Democratic platform. It better be. Let me jump to the studio before we close this baby out. Well,
Oh,
I thought it.
okay. I was talking to Stuart. I'm sorry. Stuart's come to visit us this morning.
Good
And
morning,
then
Stuart. How is Stuart doing?
yeah, he says he's doing just fine. He's just waving, but he's got some things to do around this station here. And I was talking to him, so that's why I was a little late on the draw. But
That's
anyway,
all right.
I'm seeing a lot of excitement about Kamala Harris here. I'm seeing a lot of excitement about, well, here, I think the independent vote is going to be swinging towards her because the independent voter says, I really hate both choices, but I hate Trump worse, but I really hate voting for Biden. But now we have someone who's younger, dynamic, and this is no shade on Biden. Biden did a fine job.
Yes.
This is no shade on him. But we do see someone who's younger, dynamic, and getting out there and saying, you know what, the working people deserve a break. And what are we getting from the MAGAs? Oh, well, we need to go back to 1950. No, that's not it. So I think the independent voters are going to swing towards Kamala. And I personally will probably, I can't tell you how I'm going to vote because, well, it's nobody's business. However, I will say that I think the election is looking a little more interesting now that they've made this move. Was it the right move to do? Sadly, probably was. We'll find out on election day. And so Trump doesn't want to debate Kamala? Has that been said?
Yeah.
He's saying now he wants to.
We'll see.
Oh, okay. Well, of course he does.
Because he's losing.
Yeah. And he's after the debate, he's really going to be losing. So we'll see. Jack, anything to close out with?
Yeah, Christian nationalism, domination, not democracy.
Thank you very much, my brother. Neil, give me how can people find your site?
Great. HoustonDemocracyProject.com. HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Please visit and please join us each Thursday for the Houston Democracy Project segment. It's great to be back.
Anyway, folks, thank you. Love you all. politicsandright.com/newsletter for the remainder of the show. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.